dramatic. This is a future serial killer. Is this some kind of cult? Bree here, and today we're looking at some work horror stories. In high school, I got a job working in a family-owned sporting goods shoe store. The second day, I worked the closing shift with the owner's daughter. The register didn't balance, and the owner said that half of the shortage was coming out of my paycheck because who knows who was really responsible. I had only processed 2 sales, both credit card sales, so there was no way it could be her. Yeah, that sounds like some kind of scam that the owner is running using her daughter. I started working at a by-the-hour motel when I was 14. That seems young to be working at a, kind of sketchier motel. It was owned by a woman who didn't bother with hazardous waste procedures. One night, she told me to clean up one of the rooms, and when I opened the door, my blood ran cold. I walked into what looked like a horror scene. There was blood everywhere, and she had only supplied me with bleach and kitchen gloves. What happened? This is a crime scene! The owner refused to let me report it. Wow! They totally just covered up a crime scene. That is really freaky. Something tells me that a lot of sketchy things went down in this motel and the owner was just used to covering it all up. 10 years ago, I was in between career paths and I got a job in a hospital as a telemonitor. I was responsible for monitoring heart rhythms all night and looking for signs of heart attacks or problems. That would be so stressful. Basically, you are just praying your entire shift that you're just gonna sit there and do nothing. Because, oh my, that would be terrifying. I could never. During orientation, they told us that if they paged Dr. Strong to a specific part of the hospital, that meant a patient was being combative. On my first day, a Dr. Strong was called overhead, and my new coworkers thought diving head first was the way to go, so they sent me to deal with it. Me and my coworker, a CNA named Sean, were headed down to the ER when a scrappy woman, who was clearly addicted to substances, decided to go into one of the trauma rooms and rip the morphine line directly out of what I can only describe as a giant Valkyrie of a woman. She then shoved the needle into her own arm, hoping to get her fix. Well, Valkyrie was not pleased to wake up that way. She saw what was happening, stood up, and took all the staff by surprise with her next move. She just started beating the ever-loving heck out of the woman. Both of them had blood all over them from the ripped-out IVs and punches to the face. Valkyrie had a black eye and cut lip, but the addict's eyes were both swollen shut from the beating by the time we pried them off of each other. Welcome to your new job! I worked a retail job as a cashier at a larger store. One part of that job is to sign customers up for our rather predatory credit card. That's pretty much what happens at large retail stores, yeah. We were supposed to ask every customer, no matter the dollar amount of the transaction. Well, I was helping a woman and told her she could save so much money if she signed up for the credit card. She seemed interested, but I could clearly tell that English was not her first language. I grabbed one of our pamphlets and made it abundantly clear to her that this is a credit card, not a rewards account or something of that nature. When she understood, she said, "Oh no, not today," understandably. Well, I didn't know one of my supervisors was standing behind me. After she left, he asked why I did all of that and if I tried to talk every interested customer out of signing up. When I explained myself, he said, "Next time, sign them up. They don't know any better." Oh, that is... I wish I could say that story surprised me, but honestly, from my understanding, that is the way a lot of large retail stores treat their credit card. I've heard horror stories of people who worked for large retail stores, and if they didn't sign so many people up for credit cards, their pay would be docked, which is absolutely ridiculous. My brother and I owned a restaurant together for 7 years. One night, a lady came up to pay her bill, and my brother was helping her while I was standing next to him and making small talk, as we did with our regulars. Out of the blue, she told us she was so sorry. Then, before we could even ask her what was wrong, she caught us off guard with a truly disgusting display. She fully projectile vomited through her fingers into my brother's face. I let out a scream and ran for the hills while my brother was screaming, oh no, repeatedly. He ran to the kitchen and started pouring soap into his mouth. He still gags when I bring up the story. Oh my. This is just a terrible story for everyone involved. There's no bad guy here. This is just a terrible situation. I love that she realized it was coming and she was like, I am so sorry for what's about to happen. I worked at a very popular sandwich shop that is known for its fresh eating. The owner of the store hired me, and within a month, I was made the store's main closer. I ended up getting all the responsibility of a manager without any of the authority or recognition. Sounds about right. One day, a guy walked in and asked to speak to a manager. Being the only one there with anything close to that responsibility, I asked him what I could help him with. He told me that the sandwich that he ordered online was messed up and that he needed a refund. I informed him we couldn't do refunds, but I could give him credit for next time or make him a new sandwich right away. His reaction was absolutely deranged. Oh no, we have a Karen on our hands. He proceeded to start screaming, saying that if I didn't give him his money back, I'd regret it. I warned him that I'd call 911 if he didn't calm down, and that just made everything worse. He attempted to climb over the make line to grab me, but luckily I was able to back away and stay out of his grasp. He ended up throwing his phone, which hit me in the face and cut my eyebrow open. Luckily, another customer had called the authorities a while before, and they walked in just then. The worst part? My owner berated me, saying I needed to work on my people skills. Because clearly they were the one out of line, not the person trying to climb over the counter and throwing stuff at them. I was getting married while working a temp job, and I told them on my first day that I needed a weekend off in a couple of months for my wedding. That seems reasonable. I reminded them every couple of weeks, had it on the calendar, and even reminded them that Monday. That weekend came, and I was on the schedule. I told my boss that I needed it off for my wedding. She said, "You're just a kid, can't you move it? We really need the help." Can you move your wedding that you've been planning for months? That's no big deal, right? One of my coworkers stabbed another employee with a letter opener. The attacker fled the building but was caught by officers later that day. No one understood why he would do such a thing until we heard the shocking full story later that day. Apparently, his wife cheated on him with that coworker. It was in my first week on the job, so I didn't really know either of them. The company even had to offer trauma counseling for the other employees. I would think so, because that is pretty traumatic. No one was in the right here. Definitely should not have been sleeping with his wife, but stabbing is not an effective method of conflict resolution. Teacher here. One day during lunch duty, a 4-year-old raised her hand. She cried that the boy next to her said he was going to break into her house, kill her mom, and bury her in the yard while the girl watched. What? I knew I needed to report the incident immediately. Yeah, but first I tried to console the girl. I said, that would upset me too if someone said that, but sometimes people say things that don't mean to hurt us. At that moment, I was cut off by the boy in question. I did mean it. I'm going to kill her mom. This is a future serial killer. Of course, when I reported it, it was brushed off. The kid had a known behavioral problem, one that actually led another teacher to quit, and the school's disciplinary action against him was, don't pay attention to him, but when he's good, reward him. I couldn't even hug the girl to make her feel better. That is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. This is totally one of those cases where the boy's going to grow up to be a serial killer, and everyone's going to be like, why didn't we see the signs? I walked into the interview, everything went well, except with the job offer. Went to the front desk to do the paperwork and noticed that the contract had different pay amounts and that I would be interning for the first month for $100 a week. I asked first about the amount difference and was told, oh, this is the standard contracts. They continued, it just hasn't been updated for your specific offer. I told them they need to edit and initial the changes before I would sign. Oh, that's not how things work around here. That is legally how contracts work. I'm glad this person was smart enough and didn't just sign anyway, assuming they'd make the changes. 'Cause no. Do not sign unless everything is what you discussed. They were totally trying to scam her. If you are ever like needing to sign a contract for something and there's changes that need to be made, they need to make those changes and initial next to the changes. It's very important that they initial, because otherwise they can say, oh, they totally marked that out after they signed. I did not approve of that. So before you sign anything, make sure changes are made and initialed. As a paramedic, I am required to go into the filthiest places imaginable to drag people out. One time, I showed up at a scene and there was an officer waiting in front of a trailer. As I walked up, he just smiled and said, "Be prepared." I anxiously walked in and my jaw dropped. There was blood, guts, and chicken feathers everywhere. What? Is this some kind of cult? Inside was a dude with pure crazy in his eyes waiting for me. I asked him what was going on, and he explains that he was demonstrating to his children how to make a proper sacrifice. It is a cult. The dude had taken his kids' pet chickens and beheaded them. Why did they need a paramedic? What exactly? I'm very confused as to why the paramedic was called, because it's not for the chickens. Which of these horror stories did you think was the worst? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave a like, and if you want to keep watching, there should be another video popping up right here. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe to become a part of the Ineffable community, because you are ineffable.